Hello, are you or do you know someone who is struggling with a psychiatric disability?
Who would know?
More importantly, how does society view or think about a psychiatric disability?
How is disability defined? Provided are three very good definitions of disability, one being a federal ADA definition, another from a psychiatric rehabilitation textbook, and from the Webster Dictionary. All essentially cover the same information, except one goes a little further to include the length of time as a factor in disability that is very important when considering a person with a disability. When discussing how disability is defined in regard to psychiatric rehabilitation, we will consider the later, from the Corrigan text. People with psychiatric disabilities are, because of a mental illness, unable to attain age and culture appropriate related goals.
Some of the expected treatment strategies are things like problem solving, goal.
Do you know anyone, or maybe yourself, who may benefit from psychiatric rehabilitation? Have you or anyone you know personally feel like they are lost in the world or do not belong? Have you ever felt like something was off with you, but you did not fully grasp what it is? Most testimonials from people with a psychiatric disorder state that they feel hopeless or judged as an unproductive person, at times even as a dangerous person. Some individuals find it difficult to interact with others while at work or just in general. At the same time, many have lost employment due to mental stigmas or lack of job performance due to a disorder. Racing thoughts are common to experience, as well as uncertainty in the thoughts we have. Some feel as if their thoughts may not even be their own. Nonetheless, if you feel that you cannot maintain daily function in your behaviors, thoughts, and emotions to the point that your health and lifestyle is disrupted, then you may benefit from psychiatric rehabilitation services. First and foremost, psychiatric rehabilitation is bidirectional. On one hand, it means to have an impact on individuals and the challenges and strengths relative to personal goals. Second, it is meant to have an impact on consumers' community, the venue in which their goals are pursued in. Recovery is a crown jewel, but a process. When related to principles in psychiatric rehabilitation, recovery-based health systems echo the research which mostly refers to people learning how to live with their disability, even if they do not erase the challenges altogether. Recovery does not mean finding a cure, but instead can be seen as being at peace with your disability. Hope is seen as a rule rather than an exception. Rehab counselors provide settings and interactions in which future opportunity and successes are framed as not only possible, but probable. Goal attainment is a defining center of rehabilitation. In the past, people with psychiatric disabilities were not expected to improve. Therefore, no goals were expected of them. Research has shown that proper and tailored intervention through good assessments, goal disclosures, and a working alliance between the consumer and the counselor can provide a person with a disability a normal and independent life. Rehabilitation providers understand that the mental health is not just removal of symptoms and disabilities, but instead all about the quality of life a person with a disability can have. This quality of life is to the degree to which people are satisfied with the various domains of their daily life. As previously mentioned, quality of life with a sense of well-being is key, and this is accomplished through identifying consumer strengths along with rehabilitation processes. Lastly, with the course set on hope, goals, and strengths, one might think that failures do not occur. People with psychiatric disabilities need to be granted the same opportunities as any other, with the same potential for missing the mark as everyone else. Relapse may occur, and if it does, we need to know that we can pick ourselves up and continue where we left off. At times, we know that people struggling with a psychiatric illness feel that they cannot seek help due to losing their jobs or source of income. Laws have been put in place to prevent and prohibit employment discrimination against those with a disability. Laws like the Americans with Disability Act of 1990 prohibits employment discrimination against a person with a disability at the state and local government levels. Then there are laws like the Family Medical Leave Act of 1998, which allow a person with a disability to seek help or a family whom has an immediate association with a person with a disability. This law provides a qualified individual up to 12 weeks of pay while treatment and services are being provided. Plus, many states have short-term disability laws that provide up to 26 weeks of covered pay while a qualified individual seeks and completes treatment.
If you would like rehabilitation for any physical, intellectual, or emotional treatment, psychiatric rehabilitation may assist you in meeting your needs and personal goals. Psychiatric rehabilitation services can be provided to the consumer at their home, in a psychiatric hospital, halfway houses, day treatment centers, self-help programs, as well as faith-based programs.
Most people think of disability as being something physical that is easily seen. For example, people using a wheelchair, forearm crutches, assistive speaking apparatuses, or using a service dog. Truth is, there is no standard to having a disability, and they are not always openly visible, instead hidden from the public. Disability comes in all shapes, forms, and sizes, and affects all people differently. Some of the more common psychiatric disabilities or diagnoses are things like schizophrenia, mood disorders, anxiety-related disorders, and personality disorders. Under these general categories of disorders is a slew of subcategories or subdiagnoses, if you will. Disorders such as borderline personality disorder, separation anxiety, social anxiety, antisocial personality disorder, many phobias, major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, PTSD, and this is just a few to name many.
Through psychiatric rehabilitation, counseling offers job placement, job-seeking skills, motivational interviewing, educational resources, as well as emotional support. Regardless of a disability, you have the right and deserve the opportunities as any other individual to improve your life, seek independence, and accomplish your goals.
If you have a mental illness, do not internalize prejudice. If you choose to disclose your mental illness, you can empower others to do the same. Learn about mental illness and advocate to challenge stigma. There are many successful persons out in the world who struggle living with a disability. For example, Lionel Aldridge. This man played 11 years in the NFL and was diagnosed with schizophrenia. After retiring, he had some difficulties with his mental illness, but overcame the hardships and lived the rest of his life as an advocate and board member for the Mental Health Association of Milwaukee and became a public speaker. Another successful individual is Associate Dean Ellen Sachs at the University of Southern California Glaude Law School. She has published books on her struggles and how she overcame the difficulties of living with schizophrenia.
If you or you know a person who resides in the El Paso, Texas area, then it is good to know some local behavioral centers and psychiatric rehabilitation. There are places like Peak Behavioral Health, is a private facility who specializes in treatment of children, adolescents, adults, and seniors with mental health and chemical dependency needs. El Paso Behavioral Health System is another psychiatric facility that works with adults, the elderly, adolescents, and children, as well as substance abuse. They offer critical care units and inpatient and outpatient services too.
The El Paso Psychiatric Center is a 74-bed psychiatric hospital that provides hospitalization to the citizens of Far West Texas. The hospital is managed by the Department of State Health Services. The EPPC provides care through two services, adult psychiatric services and child and adolescent services. One more to mention is Sovereign Health Group. Here, this facility is a dual diagnosis treatment center that focuses primarily on substance abuse through group and independent counseling sessions. Within El Paso, these briefly discussed sites are some of the few places that you or a person you know can start their road to recovery.
Thank you. Make your day a good day.